Used to be there was hardly any legalized gambling in Canada, aside from the local church bingo or the horse race track. Gambling options were few and far between. Then along came the Olympic Lotto in the early 70s to help pay for that financial sinkhole, the 1976 Olympic Games. Still, the Olympic Lotto, unlike the Olympic Games, raked in millions. It was evident Canadians had a lust for lottos, and soon every provincial government went on to establish its own gambling bureaucracy. These days, not only are lottery tickets ubiquitous, but there are casinos brandishing everything from slot machines to roulette wheels. And if you're a sports fan, you want to place a bet on a football or hockey game, that sort of wagering is also available thanks to Proline. Well, kinda, sorta. You see, even though gambling on sports is indeed a reality, the fact remains that a Canadian cannot legally bet on a single sports event. The criminal code only permits wagering on the outcome of two or more sporting events. But why? After all, single game wagering is the most popular bet at casinos the world over. Oh, and if policymakers think this law is preventing Canadians from wagering on single matches, then they may as well bet on the Leafs winning the Stanley Cup this year. The Canadian Gaming Association estimates that more than $4 billion in sports bets are made annually by Canadians via offshore internet betting portals. Still, the criminal code was almost changed recently to allow for single game wagering. 5 years ago, NDP MP Joe Comartin sponsored a private members bill supported by Conservative MP Rob Nicholson. It was approved by all political parties and sent to the Senate for consideration. But the feat was snatched from the jaws of victory when the Senate inexplicably stalled the legislation. When last year's federal election was called, that automatically killed Bill C-290. If anything, the arguments put forth by certain senators in terms of quashing the bill were ludicrous. Liberal Senator George Baker said if Bill C-290 were to receive Senate approval, perhaps Canada should change its name to Canada-Nevada. Oh, really, Mr. Baker? Have you ever visited Casino Niagara or Casino Windsor or Casino Rama? We're already Canada-Nevada. And the lunacy was nonpartisan. Conservative MP Michael Chong said single game wagering would hurt children, low income groups, and people with addictive personalities. Plus, it would allegedly ruin the integrity of sport. It should be noted here that Chong once worked for the National Hockey League's Players Association, so why do I get the feeling Chong is less concerned about the family milk money being squandered and more concerned about his millionaire cronies being shut out from new gambling revenues? Now, unquestionably, the death of Bill C-290 was a missed opportunity. And what a shame. Las Vegas-style sports books would make for an ideal way to lure Americans back to beleaguered Canadian border casinos. It would also mean more tax revenue and create jobs. Instead, billions of dollars of single-game wagering continues to go offshore. But hope abounds. You see, earlier this month, NDP MP Brian Mass promised to reintroduce single-event sport betting legislation. However, given the nature of private members' bills, approval will be a lengthy process. It would be far, far better if the governing Liberals were to reintroduce the bill themselves. Hey, like it or not, when it comes to gambling, the government is already the biggest pimp daddy in this land thanks to its lottery and casino monopolies. The very idea that a Canadian can bet on a two-game combo but not a single match is perverse. Besides, when it comes to gambling, there's no such thing as being a little bit pregnant. Let's hope this government does the right thing by fast-tracking this legislation. Let's also hope the Senate won't meddle with the process this time around. Unfortunately, I wouldn't bet on it. For the Rebel.media, I'm David the Menzoid Menzies.